Hello guys, this is our footer and this is what we're going to be presenting today. This is the HTML. So in this HTML I have a parent container called footer. This footer contains everything including the socials. Now in this footer there's another container called footer menu. This footer menu is just what we see here. Everything here is footer menu. Then inside the footer menu we have F1, F2 class, F3, F4 and F5, and all these F's are F1, F2, F3, F4 and F5. So let's go to the CSS now, and this is for mobile responsiveness. So now what you are going to do if we are asked to present the footer responsiveness is, if we open this CSS now at media for footer responsiveness, this is for responsiveness at media, that you say from this screen size, that's maximum of this and minimum of this, it will now use this code. So that's how it functions. At this screen size, minimum of 770 pixel and maximum of 1170 pixel, it's going to use this code. This is when this code will apply. Normally if it has not reached this screen size in between this, it will use the default screen size, the default code, which is what we coded normally without at media, without the responsiveness. But now when it gets to, look at it, when it gets to a setting, is here like this. Let me go to footer. When it gets to 1070, you see the way it's going to change. It has changed. This is 1070. It has changed to 3 columns. Look at it, the footer has changed to 3 columns. And you go down again, continue going down to 7. This is 770. It changed to 2 columns. So what our CSS is saying is, under responsiveness, between 1070 and 770, it should have 3 columns, and this is where we define our 3 columns. You know, normally our footer is displayed flex. The footer menu is displayed flex. Display flex means everything will display flex row by default. Everything will appear on a straight line, like it is like this, on a straight line. I say everything will just appear like this, display flex. But by the time we get to a smaller size, which is between this and this, it will now be display grid. And once you call display grid, you must call grid template column to tell it how many columns you want at this screen size. That's how grid is used. How many columns do we want when it gets to this screen size? We want 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. So the 3 columns, everything is 100%. The length is 100%. The length of your screen at any size is 100%. What we need is just 32%, 32%, 32% for each of the columns. 1, 2, 3. And the total width of the div is 85%. That's what you will just be explaining the code as you are seeing it. Grid template columns means you need 3 columns, and each of the columns will be 32%, 32%, 32%. Now if you have your page like this, the length of this place now, from here this text to this text now, is what we are saying it should be 85%. This is it. Width of the container is 85%. Width of the container is 85%. The margin auto now will now centralize the container. You know, when you give your container a width, you give a div a width, then you use margin auto, is going to centralize it. That's why we have this centralized. There's a space here and there's a space here. Had it been we gave it 100%, there will not be any space there. You will come to the beginning, and this will also come to the beginning, to the end. So let's go back to our code. This is the footer responsiveness for this first size. You see now is we have 3 columns. If I continue again, it's now 2 columns. Now so we're going to get another footer responsiveness at this screen size, and the screen sizes you can inspect. We are inspecting. see the screen size is now 2. Let's check when it goes to 3. Okay, you see when it's going to 3, around 770 or so. If you look at it very well, it's going to be at 770. That's why we gave this when it's 3. When it's 3 columns, it should be between 770 and 1007 something, 1170. So once it goes below 770, another ad media will apply to give you 2 columns. And let's check anything below 770 for footer responsiveness. Footer responsiveness. Okay, this is it. Footer responsiveness for 770. You can see for 770 below 770. So anything below 770, this will now apply. And it's still display grid, it's still the same display grid. The columns will now be grid template column, 2 columns. That's why we have 2. Width is still 85. Margin auto to centralize it, and justify content space between is still the same. I can remove this space between. I can remove this one because by default from our code above, from our normal CSS, it's already space between. So I don't even need to repeat anything like this. What I need to do is just to do the things I'm changing. Anything I want to change, like this grid template columns is what I want to change, I can just remove it. So if I remove this, no, let me not remove this because the width may be different from the one above, and save. I still have my code the same. Nothing is still going to change. Nothing is still going to change from my footer, because those other things are already by default for my normal CSS. They are already there. Okay, so if we come here for this, I can still say space between. I can remove it because by default it is space between as per what I have before the mobile responsiveness. Let me show you. Footer menu, this is it, space between. This is not for mobile responsiveness, this is my normal CSS before going to mobile responsiveness. So all these things I already have. All these things now I have, I can remove them from the below. I must not put them, but this width now I'm specifying it here because this is the normal. So down here now you see the way I still left the width there because I'm changing it to 85%, whereas up there is 90%. So if you look at it, I'm changing the width to 85%. That's why I had to still put it here. Had it been I wanted it to be 90%, I will not put it at all. I'll just leave it. So this margin auto can leave too, since we already have it from above. So that's it about the footer. If we are going to call to action, which is this section, by default it is display flex. Flex by this and this are side by side. I displayed the flex. Let me show you the code. The CSS for call to action. What did I call it? Okay, this is it. And the HTML is more important. This is my call to action. It has a big container called call. It has a smaller container called div1, and this smaller container is just for this text, and the other container is for the button. This is the other container for the button. So it has 2 smaller containers inside the bigger container, which the bigger container is call, and the smaller containers are div1 and div2. So if you go to my CSS, you see the call. The call is displayed flex. Look at it. It's displayed flex. That's to tell you that it's supposed to be side by side. This and this flex. Then if we go to the responsiveness now, for that section which is call, what we just need to do is to display flex, and as it is displayed flex, by default it is row. It is how do we call it? Flex direction row by default. So what I need to do is, if I don't want it to be row, because of when I'm reducing my stuff, when I'm reducing my screen, I want it, see, at this point I don't want it to be row anymore. I want this one to come down, so I'll just change it to flex direction column. No, from here now I can just change it to flex direction column. Okay, what I'm doing here is, I think I was reducing the size of this text. That's why it's changing like this. And at this point I think it has gone to flex direction column. This, at this point now, the screen size where this is, if you verify the screen size, you also see the screen size. Use at the bottom. Okay, at this screen size, no, not this screen size, I want us to use dropbox. I want us to see that screen size. Let me remove this and come back, because let me come back there. Okay, I think we are back. Okay, at this point now, let's see when it went to column and check it. This is okay. At this point it went to column. You can see it went to column at this point. It went to row at this point. So there's a point, I think it's 860 or so. 860 or so. Let's check our code for the call. Mobile responsiveness for use dropbox. No call. Okay, I think it's here. So you can see display column, then flex direction, display flex, then flex direction column, just to change that stuff so that the button can come under. You'll be now be in the column. So that is the only thing about that position, that side. Then I also changed the font size of the text to 30. It was a little bit bigger normally, but when you are reducing your screen, I changed the font size to 30. Then div1 is the size of the column. I changed the size to 500 pixels. So this is just what you should be saying. You can be looking at the code. The div1 was changed to this at that screen size. This was, margin left was changed to 30 at that screen size. That is what you should just be saying. This was done to this at that screen size. This was done to this at that screen size. So that should be all.